What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. No complaints. How was the bachelor party last week?
Dude, it was so fun. But I'm starting to realize I'm old now, man. I can't bounce back.
Yeah.
It took me like 3 days to get like sort of okay. But dude, it was fun. We did the break room. I don't know if you ever done it with like your like sledgehammers and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, dude, it is so much fun. But yeah, now we're just moved in our new place. I finally got some stuff I can put up on my wall to make it look like not just a random wall.
Right. Yeah, it's a
Finally,
nice little background back there.
yeah, dude. When I was at the Super Bowl, they were giving away towels, and I was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
can I get some more towels?" And they were like, "Sure." I was
As many as you can get your hands on, right?
I was like, "I got you guys souvenirs," because everything else was like $500.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, you did your first pod by yourself. How'd that go? It sounded great to me.
I did, yeah, man. Yeah, it was cool, man. You know, it was a decent thing. We had a decent amount to talk about with Bryce being out. A lot of the sky is falling, so talking people off of a ledge and
Right.
things of that nature. But I enjoyed it, man. I'm happy to have you back here and do our usual dynamic of back and forth rhetoric.
Isn't it so much better to just like
Yeah,
have
it's a lot
somebody
easier, man.
just if nothing else, just be like, I can't talk. Talking for 20 minutes in a row is just
Yeah,
oh,
it's a
so
task.
exhausting. So
No
exhausting.
doubt, no doubt.
Cool, man. Yeah, let's just jump right in because I think since we didn't do an early episode, that's mostly my fault. We're moving. My wife's pregnant. Got back from bachelor party and just wasn't really alive yet.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Life was happening. Yeah,
so we'll put it all in one show. So let's quickly recap the Seahawks game. In my opinion, it's so hard to take anything away because all these injuries just happen, man. We're just getting destroyed by injuries. What do you think?
yeah, man. I mean, that was the main takeaway for me was just the decimation of this defense, essentially by the injuries. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We were already down. Shaq Thompson coming into the game. He's one of our spiritual leaders, if not one of our actual on-field leaders. Luckily, they have Usaid to name him as a team captain coming into the game. He gets hurt with a hip pointer. CJ Henderson was playing a really nice game. He kind of had the clamps and the seatbelt on DK Metcalf for the first quarter and a half of the game. And then all of a sudden he comes up with an ankle. So yeah, it's just one of those things, man, where it's a snowball effect right now. We've had a couple of injuries and it just keeps on getting larger and larger. But the one thing though that is important to note about that, the Seahawks had a lot of injuries too coming into that game from, legitimate players in impact positions, and their coaching staff and their players took it upon themselves to stand up to the task, right?
Yeah.
And they played a good game. They schemed it well. They accounted for what they did and didn't have on the field. And I think that's something that hopefully Frank Reich and the rest of our staff kind of learns from here is that everybody's got some shit going on right now in the NFL.
Yeah.
There just can't be excuses on every single corner that you turn.
Right.
We got to come out there and play the football game that we're playing, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, though, they did learn some things on offense. They threw the ball 58 damn times, so hopefully they figured out a couple of things that worked there.
Yeah.
Bryce is hopefully back this week, which is a great thing. I'm very excited about that. His first opportunity to play against a defense that actually allows a quarterback to gain some yardage. But yeah, man, as far as week 3, look, it is what it is. It was a very unbalanced game on an offense approach. I cannot stand seeing 58 pass attempts to 14 rushes.
What is going on, man? This isn't like Reich at all.
It's just not, and you can say that we were trying to stay in the game, which is essentially how he phrased it, but we were up at the half, right?
Right.
And even into the third quarter, we were down by 1 score.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no reason to abandon the run that early, in my opinion.
Yes. Well,
and also being so singular with that approach.
Yeah.
It's Miles Sanders or nothing. And we've got Chuba. It was another instance of Raheem Blackshear being a healthy scratch. That's already a little bit perplexing to me anyways.
Yeah.
I get that our offensive line is struggling, so maybe that has something to do with it. But we're running a bunch of 11 personnel. If you need some extra blockers, it would be a great thing to throw 12 personnel out there and use some of these tight ends that you're so in love with, right? That's what we hear about is how much he loves his tight end room, and yet we refuse to use them.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point where I just gotta assume that the only reason that we're not playing even Chuba more or Blackshear's pass blocking. That's the only thing I can think of. It's so, like you said, so perplexing that he's
it's
not
entirely possible that would be the train of thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then if you look at any kind of metrics, right? And I'm not a huge PFF guy. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
But from a PFF standpoint, Chuba is head and shoulders above Miles Sanders as a pass blocker.
Yeah.
And he's in there a lot on third downs. I mean, he's getting some usage on third downs as far as like a pass catcher and stuff. So they clearly don't have a distrust of him in pass blocking situations. So yeah, there's just no obvious reason why this dude isn't getting more opportunities when he's looked like the most explosive player. And I think that there's a chance that Miles Sanders isn't 100% right now.
I said it after the game.
He doesn't look like it, man. He's got no burst behind his legs. He's very choppy with his feet. He's just not identifying holes and going, which is exactly the opposite of what Chuba was showing us in the Atlanta game and through preseason, is that he's identifying and he's bursting.
Yeah.
I think that we've got to look at that, especially with the opponent that we have coming up and keeping them off the field. I really hope, man, that the cries for help don't keep falling on deaf ears.
Yeah. And I going back to your point about like they were hurt too. I think we had the right game plan. I think we came in fine, but losing Luvu, Henderson, Mingo, like all those guys in game, like that's what crushed you.
Man. Yeah.
You get one person to come and kind of take over and help out in game, but man, we were trying to get Wooten and Grugier Hill guarding these huge guys coming across the field. The tight ends just crushed us in the second half, and I think that was the difference in the game. Like. And
that was without them having their second best tight end, Will Dissly. You know, and I thought that was going to be an advantage for us of Dissly playing.
I think it originally was, but losing Luvu like really, really killed, and Woods, because I think that took Chin out of the
Woods hurt.
Yeah, and like all these little things just kind of, that's what snowballed. I think is that all in game happened, and we couldn't adjust on the fly. We're still a young team. I actually. There was a lot of things that I was encouraged about. Adam Thielen turned back the clock. That dude looked like Adam Thielen. I don't know. Yeah. Whatever you did before that game, do it again, because that's not the Adam Thielen we saw week one. So,
and you know what else I really liked from Thielen too, man, to piggyback off of that, is when Dalton started improvising, Thielen was much more active in finding open spaces. In the first two games, if you go back and you watch the film, when Bryce was scrambling, there was a lot of stagnant activity by the receiver field. There wasn't a whole lot of coming back or moving to the opposite side of the field to get separation and create yardage, right? I saw a lot of that with Thielen, and that was a couple of the big plays that Thielen connected on with Andy Dalton were on scrambles and improvisation and getting out of the pocket when he was creating. That's got to be a good thing to think of as a fan, because Bryce Young excels in creating out of structure. So I do think that there was a benefit, man, to Bryce sitting and watching that game, as much as I would have loved to seen him out there going up against that Seahawks defense, because I think that was a get right situation for this team. I think that the Vikings, they kind of present a very similar idea. You know what I mean? A similar opportunity for this offense.
Yeah. And DJ Chark looks like DJ Chark again. Man, that dude looks explosive.
Yeah. And his second game back, right? So, like that first game, he's knocking off the rust a little bit, testing out to see. Maybe he's not even 100% in that Saints game, but we wanted him out there anyways as a field-stretching threat. But he looked like he had it. And again, though, man, on some of those deep plays, that wasn't some giant separation that was created that we were throwing to him. That was his tracking ability and what Sean Jeffrin refers to, you know, as the dead hands, where he just comes at the very last moment and he pulls out this innate ability of grabbing that football where there's really not a whole lot of room to do that. I do really think that there were, like you said, some positives to take from that game. There still is just enough worry about everything else, man. Like the offensive line is just really bad right now.
Yeah, I mean,
and we've got to improve on that. Like that's going to have to get tightened up, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this this line is a push, though. I think I don't think there were dogs in this game. I haven't seen it recently. It was either a half a point, or it's even, an even split. Because I was looking to to bet it if we were dogs, and I wasn't getting any good action. I know the money line is -110, -110. I haven't looked at the actual
Okay.
the spread on it, but that's as even as you can get. I mean, I guess they're giving us a home field advantage, but with all of these dudes down, Vegas still, I think, likes the Panthers a little bit. I think they saw some things too that they also liked, that we finally showed. So who knows? Because also the Vikings ain't great. So
Right. Yeah. So yeah, and I mean that's true though, right? Like, okay, so let's get into what the week 4 preview then, right?
yeah.
We've
Right.
talked about 3 that game. We're going to move on. We're going to look at that review and see what we have ahead. But so we're looking at the Vikings, right? The obvious thing with them, they throw the ball a ton.
Yeah.
Like they are a very proficient passing offense. From an offensive standpoint, they're 15th overall in points scored, 3rd in total yardage, 31st in rush yardage. But that's also because they're 32nd, dead last in the league in rush attempts, which makes sense because they throw the ball so damn much.
And they have a terrible running back.
Yeah, Alex Madison is not the guy, right? Now, we'll talk about that a little bit, though, because they've got a guy who's going to be active that they just got trade from the Rams, Cam Akers. So it will be interesting to see if they try to do something a little bit different this week. 2nd overall in pass yards, 1st in pass attempts, as we talked about, and they're 17th in sacks allowed on the offensive side of the ball.
Their offensive line is also beat up.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. They've got Christian Darrisaw, who's a hell of a left tackle. Remove him from the equation, and you're looking at what Garrett Bradbury maybe being the second best player on that offensive line. He's not a terrific guy, and that's relatively speaking. But he's nobody that you're going to be afraid of. I know that I'm not concerned about Derek Brown having any struggles with him. I'm not concerned about Williams having a hard time with him. I was
going to say that just needs to be a Brown game. Brown needs
it's got to be, and it's got to be an opportunity for Shy Tuttle to play a little bit better too, man, because he's been a disappointing player so far as far as a new acquisition. Defensively for the Vikings, now here's the silver lining, right? This is where we can have an opportunity and be better this week. 26 in points allowed, 27th in total yards allowed. They're 19th in rushing yards allowed, 24th in pass yards allowed, and 28th in pass yards per completion, which is important for us because when Bryce was in, he was having a really hard time manufacturing yardage per completion, right? I think he was second worst after Anthony Richardson as far as like yards in the air per attempt. And they're 21st in sacks. So where we have our deficiencies, their defense seems to match up pretty decently for us. The one thing that I do feel like they are going to do on the offensive side differently is I do think they're going to run the ball more. And it's something that you saw from Seattle, right? Seattle had a pass heavier approach than run in the first 2 weeks. But looking at our defense, they knew that we had a hole there. And they knew that they had an opportunity to do something. So they stuck with it. Even when they weren't being effective in week 3, they continued to run the ball. That is something that we need to expect from the Vikings as well. Because our run defense right now has been just hemorrhaging yardage, man. We're allowing like 5.2 yards per carry, I believe.
Yeah.
And we've allowed 6 rushing touchdowns already.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that they know that that's a vulnerability for us.
Yeah, we got to stay on the field, man. We got to keep. We're so weak at defense as far as depth. We got to get them off the field, and we got to keep them off the field for a little bit. That's what happens. I think we've had the lead or been tied going to the half every single game. Yeah, and then our defense just gasses out because our offense can't stay on the field. So hopefully we get
drives, man, and that's a commitment to the run, right?
Yeah,
don't abandon it, even if it's just for the sake of your defense. Even if you're not generating crazy yardage, stick with it for your defensive guys.
And that's what blows my mind. It's just so unlike Frank Reich. He's like one of the run heaviest coaches in the league. Or it was. I just don't know what's happening, what the idea behind it is. Because I know McVay doesn't run the ball a lot. So I don't know if it's a Brown kind of. I don't know. I don't know. And I kind of want some answers.
Yeah,
would like them to tell me why.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it just doesn't feel right. It feels weird. It's just I dove so deep, and I can't believe how deep I dove into Frank Reich's history in the past. But he's always had this one like bell cow back that was just like heavy, 20 carries a game. And then you had that like scat back that it almost felt like, you know how they have Montgomery and Gibbs in Detroit.
Yeah.
It almost felt like that we were going to have that, and I almost thought that Chuba was going to be like, you know, we talked about AJ Dillon kind of role, which wolf, but AJ Dillon kind of role for him, and then we would give Miles Sanders 5-6 catches a game.
Right.
It's just I don't know what this offense is. It looks so
and
weird.
Sanders is at least being involved in the pass game, right? Like that is something that we've seen come to fruition. But yeah, so like our offense, right? Let's look at the ranks for that then, because we're 24th in points scored, 21st in total yardage, 18th in rush yards, 20th in pass yards, but we're second in pass attempts. And so that's very skewed because of that big day from Andy Dalton last week, right? That was 58 pass attempts in one game. So that changes that statistic a lot. 31st in average yards per completion. That's what we were just talking about. That's something that we're going to have to improve upon, especially playing against a dynamic offense like the Vikings. We want to control the time of possession, but as far as dinking and dunking them to death, I don't know that approach is going to work, because if they get out to more than a one-score lead, we're going to be in trouble, man. And that's what happened with the Seahawks. The minute that they put that foot on the gas and they took it higher than 6 or 8 points away from us, we panicked, man, and became entirely one-dimensional. And we're not talented enough on the perimeter to do that right now.
We've done it every game.
Every game, man.
Every game that we've given up we get that one interception for Bryce.
Yeah.
He goes down, throws 3 more passes than that, like those 3 and out again. It's like,
right.
Why don't you take some pressure off of your rookie quarterback, man? It just doesn't. And this is like me being a nobody, stupid
podcast guy.
Yeah, podcast guy, whatever.
Yeah.
They got some of the smartest coaches in the league on that coaching staff.
Right.
What am I missing? What do I not see?
Right. And the last stat that I'll bring up that I do want to note, we did it for the Vikings, but I also want to note it because I want to talk about the defensive approach for Minnesota. We're 21st in sacks allowed on offense. Defensively, I'm just going to get into these real quickly, and then I want to go back and talk about that defensive scheme for Minnesota. Defensively for the Panthers, we're 25th in points allowed, 13th in total yardage allowed, 27th in rush yards allowed. And that's, again, what we were just kind of alluding to, that's going to be a point of emphasis for Minnesota. We're 9th in passing yards allowed, with 4th in pass attempts against us. That also is skewed because of Atlanta game, right? They threw 18 pass attempts. Like, we knew that was a run heavy thing. And the Seahawks did commit to the run as well last week. Like, it's
weird.
It's a thing. Yeah, weird, right? It's like coaches that are watching film that are saying, hey, look, there's an exploiting or an area to exploit. Let's take advantage of that, right? Even if it's not their bread and butter, man. It's like, it's adaptability, man, and understanding, reading a room and seeing it and saying, here is the opportunity. Let's try that before we fall back into our old ways, right? Like, just try something, man. And then defensively, we're 7th in sacks, which is a nice surprise for us. I didn't foresee a ton of early success generating sacks with Marquise Haynes out and all of that kind of stuff. So this has been a really nice defensive. I think that Evero has gotten a lot out of this defensive unit.
He has been so impressive.
Yeah, I really do think that he's been a great hire, man.
Yes, he is excellent, especially with the number of freak. If you say the first 3 quarters of every single game, we look like a top 10 defense.
Right.
We just gas out, man. We just
agreed.
We just lose time of possession, and they just run the rock over and over and over, and we don't have depth right now. We can't do it.
And Evero's going to have his hands full.
Fantastic.
Evero's been great, man, and I do think that that's worth noting weekly, is that he has absolutely performed up to the billing of being a top defensive coordinator, right?
Yeah.
He's got his hands full because the Vikings have scored touchdowns on 9 of 11 of their scoring plays. And that's a league high 81.8% rate. Now, they also, though, are going to give us an opportunity to do something that we haven't done a lot of, and that's create turnovers, because they've turned the ball over on 24% of their possessions, and that's 31st in the league. So we do have an opportunity to steal possessions from that Vikings team, in my opinion. They're going to try to do the same to us with their defensive coordinator. Man, super heavy on the blitzes. Like,
Flores,
Brian Flores, who I really do like as a defensive coordinator. I think he's got a really aggressive scheme. He was a name that I was pretty high on the opportunity or the possibility of him coming here to Carolina as well.
Yeah.
Now, when I talk about being blitz heavy, the crazy thing is just how blitz heavy they are, though, right? They blitz on a league high 63.9% of opponent dropbacks. The league average is 27%. I mean, that is a gigantic disparity between what they do. But here's the thing for us, though, right? Here's our pink cloud. They only get pressure on 31.6% of those blitzes, and that's 28th in the league. The league average for getting pressure on blitzes is 43.9%. So
because it's coming.
Like, right. And it was almost like what Evero was doing a little bit in Denver last year. He blitzed on over 60% of the snaps, I believe. It was right around that 60% clip. They weren't generating a ton of actual pressure from it. What he does differently than Evero is he doesn't do as much of the coverage disguises. So we're going to be able to, we have this giant brain coming back to play quarterback for us this week. He's going to be able to identify some of this stuff. I'm hoping that he can see some of these coverages. He can identify the guys coming off of the line as extra attack and say, there's my opportunity. I'm going to take that shot. After seeing last week what they were able to do with DJ Chark, and even I think Terrace Marshall Jr. is going to get involved in some of those deep shots.
Hopefully Mingo's back too.
Yeah, and man, I'm going to
good too.
You
don't think so?
Nah, I'm going to be completely honest, man. There has been a lot of talk about people saying that we should sit Bryce and let him learn for a little bit, right? Let him learn the offense sitting and watching. I think that there's a serious case to be made that Mingo is the offensive rookie that could really benefit by sitting down and watching the game and learning a little bit, because his route running is pretty atrocious right now.
Yeah.
It's bad, man. He's running pretty aimlessly. Now, we're also not doing a ton of favors by scheming up, like we've talked about multiple times, and I talked about it on the solo episode last week. They've got to figure out a way to use him in a different role, man. Like, we talk about Laviska Shenault in that Debo role. That should be Mingo. Mingo should be getting a lot of these shifts and motions. Mingo should be getting looks even out of the backfield where you shift him out and then put him in a quick motion. He's in a full sprint. Get him some momentum. Take advantage of the fact that he's a bowling ball once he gets the ball, right? Yeah. That's where we need to get him confident, man. And until they do that, or until they want to do that, I'm not sure that he's helping the offense as much as he could be actually hurting it at times.
Yeah, I think we were. So when I say look good, I mean he looked good as a athlete.
Yeah,
but I agree with you, and I think it has. This is going to be another different players, but this is kind of like I think Mingo's going to be like a Tutu Atwell, where for Atwell it just didn't click. Like the little things, like know when to go back shoulder, know when to cross the safety, know the little things like that. You go upfield versus going like run a green route versus yellow route, versus, like knowing those things, being on the right page with Bryce. And I think he's missing those tiny things. And those are the things that lead to turnovers. And that's what we can't do. And I just think that it's taking him a while to learn. And I think that's why we can't do a lot of the pre-snap stuff, because you got to know where to be. You got to make sure you're covering the tight end sometimes. Like all these kinds of different things that he has to know the nuances of. And I think it's just taking him a while to learn how to be an NFL receiver.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree on that. And He's been out there a little bit more than you would anticipate for a guy who's struggling, but that's also because of the way that he's pretty solid in run blocking. And I still think that that's a place where Terrace Marshall Jr. can provide the same level of play. And I would just really like to see what Terrace can bring if Mingo is having this much of a hard time. I think that if you have the dynamic of DJ Chark as the deep attack, you have Thielen out there as the route technician in the intermediate levels. Let Terrace kind of be that wild card, right? Let him run the variety of routes. Let him keep the defense on their toes, because this is a big guy that also has speed, that also has toughness once he gets the ball. He's got yard after catch ability as well. Maybe not to the same extent that Jonathan Mingo is known for, but this dude isn't some like plodding receiver that once he gets the ball, he just trips over his own feet and falls down. There's a dynamic there with him as well. And I would like to see that get involved. But I don't think that we find any success in this passing game if we don't commit to the run game and allow us to open up play action and incorporate more motion into the offense. You know, last week we ran play action concepts on 6% of snaps. That's terrible, man. And like the reason that it had to be that way is because we weren't running the ball. There was zero threat on our side of
I feel like every time you say that, it's a little.
Yeah, I know. It's like shivers down, right? Because it's one of those things that if we're understanding it, I promise you that competent defensive coordinators like Brian Flores are understanding that as well. If you want to beat a well-coached team, and I'm not sure that the Vikings are well-coached, but they've got a smart coach, right? If you want to beat that kind of a chess match, you're going to have to change up your strategy. You can't come into it with the same old gray outlook. It has to be something different. You got to get Chuba involved. We talk about the personnel situation with the tight ends. 11 personnel were on like 93% of the time. Yeah, you got to get 2 tight ends out there, man. And it's not Ian Thomas, dude. Get Tommy Tremble out there. Ian Thomas is supposed to be this dominant blocking tight end. And I think he did have a period of time where I probably would have put him as like a top 5 blocking tight end in the league, right? For like a year.
That's where he got his money. Yeah.
That's where he got his contract. He's not doing that right now.
Yeah.
In the opportunities that he's getting, even just as a blocker, he's struggling, man. And like some of the motions that we want to run and use that tight end in that block, he doesn't have the lateral agility to execute those at a high level. Tommy Tremble does. And Tommy Tremble is also going to be up for his contract negotiations at the end of next year. We should be evaluating, if we're truly in this rebuild like they want to talk about us being in, we should be evaluating players that have a possibility of being in this team's future plans. Yep. Ian Thomas, in my opinion, just isn't that.
Yeah. Man, I'm so frustrated.
And we say all of this, though, man, but it's like we have a winnable game this week against the Vikings.
We still have with Derek Carr. I mean, I talk crap about Derek Carr. Derek Carr going down, Falcons. I think the Falcons kind of. I should have expected it more from Falcons. These teams are old, right? Falcons are old. The Saints are old. They're going to play well the first few games. There's still only 2 games ahead of us, and we still play both of them again.
And the Falcons on offense, winnable division. The Falcons on offense,
defensively,
they have an identity, right? And maybe that's kind of what you mean when you say like the older 2. These teams know what they are. Like coming into the season, the Falcons knew, Arthur Smith knew that he was going to run the football. That's the only thing Arthur Smith knows. He knows not to shave above his lip, and he knows to run the football. Like, those are the 2 things that he has as a certainty in life. The Buccaneers knew that they wanted to rely on their defense, right? And they wanted to limit what Baker was going to do, but that they had outside weapons to take advantage of opportunities.
Yeah.
The Saints were the same way. They had a veteran quarterback that they trusted, whether we like him or not. They had an approach that they wanted to go with. They wanted to run the ball. They want to rely on their defense. This Panthers team doesn't know yet what we're trying to do. And if that's not more evident by throwing the ball 58 times in a close game, I don't know how else to explain it to you. I think that once we're able to identify that and kind of hammer down this team identity, then I think you can start having a consistent approach on a weekly basis, right?
Yeah. I also want to just like let's just get some energy in there. Let's put Deshaun Williams, Jameson in. Let's just do it. I don't care. Let's just do it. Let's influx this. Like, let's get Jamie Robinson just go hit somebody as hard as he can and maybe knock himself out for 2 games. But like, just,
man, doesn't it worry you though? Doesn't it make you nervous though, the prospect of Jamie Robinson playing after seeing him just get toasted with that spin move, that awful slow spin move in preseason? And now you're talking about Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson being deployed in front of him. Like, look, don't get me wrong, man. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I think at some point you got to just throw some of this shit to the fire. Else, man. Yeah. No, totally, man. And you've got this young team, so play them. Yeah. And you're right, though, man, from an energy standpoint. And that's why I want to see more creativity on offense. Yeah. Let these guys start having some fun, right? And you saw it from Chark last week, man. When he scored that touchdown, that touchdown celebration was one of just like built up, pent up energy, ready to let loose and show everybody, hey, we don't completely suck. We are better than what these last 120 minutes of football have made us look like, right?
Yeah, dude. I texted Coach D. I was like, let's go.
Hell yeah, man. That's right. Like it's a great welcome back. And it is something to be optimistic about is DJ Chark with Bryce Young. They had a great rapport and connection throughout the summer. So I do look for them to take advantage of that in this opportunity for once. They're going to have a lot of pressure coming Bryce's way. So he's going to have to make some quick identifications and some quick decisions and give his playmakers opportunities to make those plays. Talk about the blitz rate for Minnesota, man. Carolina's not great at stopping pressure either. Like we've allowed pressure on 45.5% of our dropbacks. And that's 28th in the league. So it is going to be a strength of theirs against a weakness of ours. But we have a couple of those situations for them too. So I think that this is an opportunity for us to open it up, man, similarly to what we did against Seattle, not to the full extent. Run the damn ball. Like, I want to see at least 20 rush attempts from running backs. I don't want to see. Look, man, everyone wants Laviska to get more involved. I'm cool with that. Like, if the opportunity arises for him to get involved and run some of his gadget looks, I have no problem with that. He's a dynamic player. He's a limited dynamic player, though.
Right. Yeah.
He can't do more than 2 or 3 tricks at a high level. Right. So I don't want to sit here and plan too much into the game plan for Laviska Shenault when we're not using Hayden Hurst, we're not using Tommy Trimble, we're not using Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, Terrace Marshall Jr. These are guys that I think are integral focal points of an offense. Laviska is somebody you come in and you're like, all right, now that you're exhausted from having Chuba and Miles run down your throat, you know what I mean? Now all of a sudden we're going to bring out this end around double motion Laviska Shenault on a wide receiver sweep, right?
Yeah. So and here's another thing about this that we need to get, and it seems so simple to me, and that's why I'm still not like really understanding what we're doing. Like with Kobe, you gotta get out of here with that. Kobe, come here.
Your dog trying to get on the podcast, man?
Yeah, you can hear in the back.
I heard it. Yeah.
I'll forget background noise later. Sorry, guys. You won't actually hear this. I'm just me vamping about my invisible dog that doesn't exist. So you saw with Andy Dalton. So we have backup guards, and Zavala is just not a great pass blocker. It doesn't seem like he's there yet.
He had a rough time, man. He had a rough time.
So they see this. You can watch it in the games. They're bringing pressure up the middle. Because also Bozeman's not a great pass blocker. The only way you can kind of keep them honest is to run the ball.
That's right.
We were able to get it out fast because Andy Dalton is so large and he can see over these guys and you can see this coming. Because usually I feel like a lot of quarterbacks like it when they're coming because you can see them coming, right? And then you can go outside the pocket. And usually people try to come from the outside because it's the easier way because you want to make them kind of come in and collapse the pocket, right? But these guys are bringing pressure up the middle because of how weak we are up front. You got to move Bryce out because Bryce just can't see over these guys. And I don't want to make it about him being small or anything. But when Andy Dalton was in there, easy. He can still see the entire field without guys.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Dalton's like 6'2", maybe 6'1.5". He's not like a huge in stature kind of guy. And I think that Bryce can see over it just fine. But I hear what you're saying.
Like so much but like if you think of where his release points are compared to Dalton's release points, and maybe it's a poise thing, I don't know. But it seemed like he was able to see guys come open in the middle of the field way better than Bryce has been. Granted, he also has more people getting open than Bryce had getting open earlier too. I think we need to roll out Bryce a lot more bootleg kind of things to get him time, first of all, and then second of all, for him to be able to see the field correctly.
Yeah, I just need the coaches to do one thing, and then one of the analysts and evaluators that I respect more than most is Matt Waldman. And he has a great thing that he always says about you don't get the player for the scheme, you scheme to the player.
Right.
And I think that that's something that I really do need to see out of Frank Reich in this offense is instead of trying to just run your scheme, which he said at the beginning of the year when he was hired, that wasn't his intention here, that he wasn't going to be stubborn and run this same thing that he always does. Like he loves what Bryce Young brings. He loves what Thomas Brown has from an offensive scheme standpoint. I want to see some of that incorporated a little bit more. And I want to see him play to Bryce's strengths. Maybe seeing Andy Dalton out there doing some of that creating, knowing that he's not even at the level of Bryce Young athletically and things like that. Maybe that is enough for them to say, okay, we're going to implement some new looks, right? We're going to try some new things. And don't give me that it's too hard to implement new ideas into an offensive strategy from a weekly game plan standpoint either, because we're seeing the Bengals implement these quick full speed motions and stuff like that just last week. These are young coaches that don't want to be left behind. Hey, there he is. There's that dog. They don't want to be left behind on these tendencies, right? It's great to come up with a new trend and to nail something like that and to be an innovator, but it's almost worse to be last to that party, right? Make sure that you aren't being left behind just because you believe so much in what used to work in 2019.
Yeah. Yeah, I never thought that the entire year. The one thing that I would say I'm worried about is the coaching. It just,
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. And maybe it
Yep.
gets better. I know I know they have reasoning behind the things that they do, and I know I'm a nobody podcast guy, but it, I can't. I've tried. I can't
Don't
make sense
sell
of a
us
lot of
too
things they're
short, man. Like Kitty Lip Podcast, we're wide known, man. We're going to be international before you know it. You know what I mean? We'll probably be hosting a pregame in Germany for the Panthers and Chiefs next year. Like, who
Yo,
knows, man? I'm just saying, don't sell
my
us
dad's a
short.
Chiefs fan. I was talking
Look
about
at
going to
that.
Germany.
See?
Let's do
Hey,
it.
Papa Brian, go ahead and hook us up with a couple of tickets first class.
You know what? I'm gonna talk to who's the German guy, the German Panther guy. I think he listens to us sometimes. I'll tag him and we'll go ahead and start talking about that because it sounds a lot of fun.
Well, that's off to a great start. Hey, who's that German guy that listens?
Yeah, no, but he's like the German Panther guy. Like that's his shtick. That's like it's like I think it's two of those guys. It's like they like watch it from Germany, and all their stuff's in German. But I'll reach out to him because I think he follows us. So
isn't that a wild concept, man? When you're in Germany and things are in German.
Yeah,
crazy world we live in.
It's just weird. To me, it's just weird that they have like fans of like the Carolina Panthers in Germany.
Yeah. Well, the NFL does a really good job with these international initiatives. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're talking about putting a team over in Europe permanently. I don't know how logistically that works, but anyways, pineapple. Sorry, we went way off there. I was really just trying to joke around about not selling a short, man. But
I went off the rails then. I guess we do have a cool logo, so maybe that's why they like it.
That's right. That's it.
Yeah, I think we're still saying the same point over and over again because I wanted to be positive because I am excited and we have a really good chance of winning this game. Not a really good chance, but
a realistic,
a realistic. There you go, realistic chance.
That's the thing. Like you said, you want to be optimistic because I do believe that there is a realistic chance of winning this game. Going into week 1 and week 2, I think I felt that we should have won those games.
Right, all 3 of them. I
don't necessarily feel like we should win this game on Sunday, but I think we can. And sometimes that almost makes you more dangerous when you're not necessarily supposed to win a game, but you have the internal belief that you can win that football game.
Right.
So I'm hopeful that the team is looking at this the same way that we're talking about it, where, man, Minnesota is this dynamic passing team. We know that we're down in the secondary. We know that we're hurt. I really hope that this Panthers team is taking all of that personal, using it as some bulletin board material. You know, let's show a little bit of gumption in week 4. Come out, let's run the ball down their throat. I think that that's a thing that has to happen. If we cannot establish that run game, I think we're in for another long game.
Yeah, and you got guys like DJ Chark in there. He's like, guys, we were last year. They were what 7 and 7 or no. They were
talking about the Lions.
Yeah, like 4 and 7, and they went up 6 and 1.
Right.
Von Bell was on the Bengals, and they started off 0 and 2, and then they went to the AFC Championship game.
Right.
They got guys that
Frank Reich has started off the season 1 and 5 as head coach and went to the playoffs.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, so, I mean, there is history on this team of players that have been in these positions, coaches that have been in these positions. Not all is lost here.
And they hate losing. These guys don't lose football games.
Right.
Like Von Bell doesn't lose. Like he doesn't know what that is. So
he's won his whole career, right?
Yeah, you better believe. Bryce Young ain't used to losing.
No, man.
They got too much pride. I think they're going to come out and they'll be on fire to begin with. We just got to make sure we execute the entire game.
Hey, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, too, I really just want Bryce Young to come out and show the hell out so that I don't have to hear Chris Sims' dumbass say anything else about Bryce Young. I've had about as much as I can take of Chris Sims and Bryce Young lately, man. Like, it is just ridiculous. I want Bryce Young to succeed for Bryce Young and for me and for the rest of Panthers Nation. But there honestly is now this little sliver that's carved out in my brain of, man, I just want Chris Sims to eat shit so badly, man. Like, you remember what was it, Step Brothers, where he made him eat the white dog shit?
Yeah.
I just want Chris Sims to have to eat the white dog shit, to be completely honest, man. God, I hate that guy. Sorry. Fine.
Yeah.
Let's get back.
You really like
to do a score prediction now if you want.
You look like you want to punch him in the face. You really look like you want to punch him in the face.
Bingo. That's it. See? Yes, there it is, man. All right.
What is it? You know what's good for that? If you eat my butthole.
Yes, exactly. Somebody please just play that clip to Chris Sims.
I think this is going to be an over game. Man, I think you're right. I think that I think Bryce does come out and show us something. And I'm just going to be optimistic. Let's just say 27-24 Panthers for me.
Okay. I like it. And I have given 2 Panther wins, 1 loss in predictions so far. This Minnesota game was one at the beginning of the year that I tabbed as a win for the Carolina Panthers. I hate to change that, but I'm going to. I'm going to say that this one is a high scoring game. I'm going to go 34-27 Minnesota. And the reason I do that, man, is I just think that we're going to really struggle against their pass catchers. I really just have a hard time seeing anybody sticking with Justin Jefferson, no matter what defensive schemes we run, coverage, disguises, anything like that. Justin Jefferson's going to get his opportunities, and he's better than everybody we have on the defensive side of the football. Jordan Addison, I think, being the secondary guy, I think that's just dangerous as shit, too. TJ Hawkinson is very, very good. And Kirk Cousins, man, he'll give you some opportunities, but he'll also create his own as well. So I think we have a hard time stopping him, but I do think that Bryce and this offense put together some points and some fruitful drives.
There's just something in me that's saying that these guys are going to look like a different. And you kind of saw that shift a little bit. I think the injuries killed us. Like there's something that shifted this past game where they were just like they wanted it, and I feel like the first 2 games they're kind of just figuring it out. They're like, I don't know. And then I think, man, Luvu going out, I think was the biggest kill of it all. And Mingo, I think, didn't really change a lot.
I think you're talking about Luvu should be able to play. I know he missed practice, but I thought that they said that they weren't worried about his status coming in.
It looked like he could have come back in and played. I think they were just being really cautious.
Yeah, those hip pointers were super painful. So, I mean, it was likely just that's not going to work for the rest of today.
Yeah. I just feel like the energy is going to be back in Bank of America. It just feels like they're just going to say, it's a Adam Thielen revenge game. Adam Thielen went and talked to somebody, and dude, it's almost like he just doesn't look worried. Like, and I know, like he's a proud guy. Like he's not gonna, but he doesn't look pissed. Like I think they all are still bought in.
Yep.
And I think you're right. It's an insane amount of energy.
Yeah. No, I feel that, man. And I hope that you're right. And look, if I'm wrong on the prediction, that will be one of the happiest I'll be to be wrong in my life, right? Like, I am all good being wrong and the Panthers winning. I don't want to be wrong when I choose them to win. So if this becomes a thing where all I have to do is pick them to lose and we can start winning, I'll pick them to lose every single game, man. Personal record doesn't matter to me as long as the Panthers record starts, materializing.
Yeah, it is hard for me to say that the Vikings will go 0-4. That's tough, but man, I don't know what it is. It's like I'm worried. All the fans are worried.
Yeah,
I don't understand it, and these guys are just like kind of still. We're okay. I think.
Yeah,
it's just weird. It's weird that they're like that. But man, they came out on fire. And I think the injuries just kind of killed us. But I think they're all going to rally around Adam Thielen. I think Adam Thielen has a humongous day, probably about what he had last week. And then I think I want to see one big Terrace Marshall jump ball downfield where he high points it for 50 yards and just mosses somebody.
Yep.
And I just think I want Bank of America to just go crazy. Where I thought, and I was sort of right about the Luvu and Saints, but I thought he was going to have that for a touchdown because he had 2 sacks. I think he caused a turnover or something like that. And I think this is going to be on the offensive side. And I think there's going to be this one huge play that's going to just ignite everybody. So hopefully that's it. I'm overly optimistic probably, but it's not less about how I feel, but these guys going on TV and just being like, all right, yeah, we're good.
Yep.
What? You're 0-3. What do you mean you're good? No, we're good.
Right.
All right, okay, whatever. They're good.
I'm not the panic, right?
I expect some electricity. I expect it for me, myself, to just be like super pumped up about whatever's going on. And I just hope that at the end of the game, they don't blow it because the Vikings have enough firepower to do that. But cool, man. Yeah, I don't mean to vamp on anyone any longer. I think we're kind of saying the same thing. We're just waiting. We're waiting to see what you guys are doing. Well, like what you're doing, and
Yeah.
I hope they just show it. I hope they show it to me sooner because I'm impatient.
Yeah, no, just unload the clip, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, y'all. Well, let's go Panthers. We probably won't be back on until Tuesday. So until then, Panther Nation, enjoy Thursday Night Football and keep pounding.
Keep pounding.